Have you ever met someone that it was just really hard to say anything nice about them? There are two brothers in Eastern Kentucky who were known in their small town as two of the worst individuals you would ever meet. They were cheaters, they were liars, they were thieves, and if there was ever any trouble in town, chances are they caused it or were looking to profit from it. One day, one of these brothers died, and the surviving brother went to the local church and requested the preacher to do the funeral. Even though neither of the brothers had been inside the church for more than 20 years, the brother just had one request. During the eulogy, the preacher needed to say that his brother was a real saint. The preacher refused. This man's reputation was no secret, and to get up and say something like that would be a total and complete lie. The brother pulled out a checkbook and said he would give the church and the preacher $25,000. All he needed to do was to get up and say that his brother was a saint. The preacher agreed. With this being a small town like it was, news spread, and the day of the funeral, it was standing room only. Not so much to pay the respects for the man that most people despised that was in the casket, but to see if the preacher would truly say that the man lying in that casket, a cheater, a womanizer, an abuser, would the preacher really say that this man was a saint? The preacher got up and he began the eulogy. Everybody leaned in close. Everybody wanted to hear the words to make sure they caught it. If the preacher even mentioned that this man who had done so much damage in this town, if the preacher would say that he was a saint. The preacher began. Here lies one of the worst people I have ever met. He was a cheater. He was a liar. He was a drunk. He was a thief. He cussed. He was a bully. He was a womanizer. And his actions caused more damage to this town than an F5 tornado. But compared to his brother who is sitting in the front row today, he was a real saint. Romans 5 says that God shows his love for us, that while we were still weak and while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Had his brother made this realization earlier in his life and began a personal relationship with Jesus Christ, his whole life could have changed, could have turned out much differently. Christ died to save all sinners, no matter how much wrong they had done in the past, no matter what any of us have done in the past. Jesus Christ died to save all sinners, and that includes you and me. As the old hymn says, Christ receiveth sinful men. My question to you today is, will you receive him? When your time on this world ends, could the preacher get up and honestly say how good of a person you were? That depends on you. That depends on what you do from this day forward. Christ receiveth sinful men. Will you do what the Bible says and commands us to do to receive him today?